Okay, hey, welcome everybody to Askinosie Chocolate. Boy, this is our first Facebook Live in several months. I'm joined by my daughter, Lauren Askinosie. She's our Chief Marketing Officer and co-owner of Askinosie Chocolate with me. She's in Austin, Texas. We're outside of Springfield, Missouri, and it has been a long time. Caitlin tells me that we look good. The overlay is Ecuador, and it's a really exciting day for us for a lot of reasons. First, we haven't done this in so long. So Lauren, it's good to have you back. We'll talk more about that later.
Good to be back.
But but I'd like to bring in our special guest, Dr. Zeke Emanuel. Welcome, Zeke. Thanks for being here on this Facebook Live with us. We appreciate it.
Great. Nice to be here.
For those of you who don't know Zeke, he is a longtime friend of the Chocolate Factory, a longtime friend of mine. He is a bioethicist. He's the Vice Provost of Global Affairs at the University of Pennsylvania. He's an author, and he is an intense foodie, really to a level that I think not many people really know or can fathom. But the thing I want to say before we begin and we start talking about why this day is so special is what many people also don't know is that Zeke is a huge advocate of our Chocolate University program and has been for years. Zeke has raised thousands of dollars so that our kids in the Springfield, Missouri, Southwest Missouri area can go visit farmers in Tanzania. He's hosted fundraisers in his home in Washington, D.C. so that kids in Southwest Missouri can have this opportunity to transform their lives in Tanzania. So Zeke, I want to start with, a lot of people love food. Okay. A lot of people like to eat food, but you take it about 50 steps beyond that. Why? Why such an intense interest in food?
I don't know. I grew up as a young kid and my mom was way ahead of her time. Every night we had a salad. This is the 1950s and 60s. We had a salad on the table. I was fed lots of vegetables as a young kid. And then when I moved out of the house, I learned how to cook and I began to appreciate how you could transform food and really make things taste so interesting. And then I became interested met farmers, met people who were making foods in all different worlds, people who made jams, people who made beers, and it just became interesting to me. And more importantly, very, very moved by people's stories and devotion to doing the best for other people. Food is the kind of thing, people make it so that other people will enjoy it. And it's also, I think, very much a focus or a center of community. You bring people together, you share a meal. This is ancient, right? I mean, you open up the Bible. You and I are big Bible readers. You open up the Bible, you read, all about food and hospitality and sharing and breaking of bread being so critically important. And I think, I'm a big, I love to have people over and talk. I love to give to other people, and it's very, very important. And as you know, Shawn, I think you're a saint on earth because of what you do to educate people, to give your farmers who grow the cacao and who you work with, the best possible price. It's so that they can have a good life, build schools and other things for them. So it's a way of just giving back to everyone.
Mm-hmm. And you took it to another level. You opened up your own restaurant. Tell just a little bit about that. That's amazing.
That's a little a misnomer. I was a chef for 2 weekends in someone else's restaurant, which hadn't opened yet. And sometimes I feel a little bit like George Plimpton,
yes.
The guy who went around doing professional things at the top. And so, I've had the opportunity with you to make a chocolate at the top, competitive with great chocolates all around the world. And at a restaurant, I had a chance to make a breakfast restaurant. I long complained about there being no great breakfast restaurants in Washington in the late 90s and 2000s, and someone gave me an opportunity sort of on a dare. All right, we've got a restaurant opening up. This was someone who was backing a restaurant. Why don't you come in and do the breakfast restaurant you want, with the French toast you want, with your pancake recipe, the omelet, the Gruyere cheese omelet you like. So I did it for 2 weekends, and the hardest work I've ever done. I mean, just when the alarm goes off at 4 a.m. and you're looking forward to breaking 500 eggs, it's like crazy.
Yes.
Hauling yourself out of bed and going down there. And then you meet the people, and people are like, this is fantastic stuff. And it's like, wow.
Right.
It's just really, really wonderful to share food with other people, I think. And it brings people together.
Lauren, I saw you, did you have a question?
Well, I mean, I think that it's important for us to get to the crux of why we're all here. Zeke mentioned that he partnered with us to make this chocolate bar, and I'm excited about this.
Well, we'll talk about, we're going to get there, and this is a big deal. Zeke and I met back at the Good Food Awards. He hosted the Good Food Awards in San Francisco in 2013 and was the master of ceremonies and speaker. And I was lucky enough to be speaking at that event for the chocolate, small batch chocolate industry. And we met there, and Zeke said, hey, I want to make a chocolate bar. And in my mind, I thought, okay, I'm going to put him on the list of 100 people who have told me they want to come to the chocolate factory and make a chocolate bar. Because it's a lot of people think that that's a nice fantasy in their head, which it is. But then Zeke did what Zeke does, and he contacted me and he said, hey, what about that? Do you think we can make a chocolate bar? And I said, hey, we can do it, but I am going to need you to meet me at an origin. So this takes us back, Lauren. The context of this is our first chocolate bar. Yeah. So today we're talking about Zeke's third bar as our guest chocolate maker. But the first chocolate bar was one from Madagascar. And Zeke, went all the way to Madagascar. That's where he wanted to go. And I'm going to show these pictures. This is Zeke and I on our first origin trip in Madagascar together. Those are drying cocoa beans behind us. And you can see behind this ox, I guess it is, these pods in Madagascar. A lot of people don't realize this is where chocolate comes from. This is it. So from these cocoa beans, this is a really big deal. And so it was cool for Zeke to be able to see that and then come to our chocolate factory and make chocolate. So Zeke, what I want to ask you about just generally, and you don't have to talk about Madagascar, but just generally, what is your sense about going to origin, and seeing these cocoa beans? What was that like for you?
So I would say, first I want to say why making a chocolate bar was important. I developed a philosophy, which is that a sort of principle that every year I should do something that is completely different, takes me out of my comfort zone, and makes me learn and grow in a way that I hadn't before. So doing the pop-up breakfast restaurant, that was one case. Making a chocolate bar, that was another case. First of all, you learn about what it takes to grow and harvest cacao, to bring it in, ferment it, dry it, pack it up. You see all the steps. And one of the important things is they're hard, they're complicated. Cutting down a pod off a tree, that is not easy. I failed many times, as you witnessed, Shawn. It takes a lot of skill, and yet we sort of toss it off. Chopping open the pod so you don't ruin any of the beans, and getting them out so that you can put them in the fermenter, fermenting for just the right amount of time so that you get real intense flavor, and then drying them and cleaning them off and packing them. So all of those are very labor-intensive steps, and we tend to, I think, not think about them. And one of the things about going to origin is to think about them and to, meet the people behind who are providing these wonderful beans. And I was shocked when we went to Madagascar. We went to the site that provides, cacao, Madagascar cacao. Every time you see Madagascar on a bar, they provide it for 150 bars around the world. they're the most the biggest producer. There are only 3 big farms there, and the one we went to was the biggest. And I asked him, he says, yeah, we provide cacao to the cocoa beans to 150 different producers. I said, how many have come to see how it's made and to look at the quality that you put into it? 20. And I was like shocked because, and these are small, some of them are small batch producers, some of them are slightly bigger, but it's like getting a feel for what goes into what we're eating is, I think, really, really important, and how hard the work is. I mean, I've always joked with you, Shawn, that every chocolate bar ought to be $50 given the amount of labor that goes into it. It's so they're labor-intensive processes. They're really artistic and very, very important. Just knowing the exact right time to stop drying, the exact right time to stop fermenting, the exact right time to stop roasting, so you get the intense flavor that you're trying to create. Well,
let's talk about that just for a second. Here you are in our chocolate factory. So not only for those viewers, I would tell you, so not only did Zeke go to Origin, but he's come to our chocolate factory to actually make the chocolate bar. Here you are in the mold. Yeah, the only person that's ever done that in the 15-year history of our company. But what tell us about that? What was your experience like? What was that like to actually be in the factory and make the chocolate bar, come up with the recipe and what you thought it should be, and how was that experience for you?
Well, again, everything is a learning experience. So the first thing is to understand the roasting process and how much art it is. How long you do it changes the flavor of the beans and the ultimate chocolate and the kind of intensity you're going to create. And then each step, and then the entire conching process and the adding of the cocoa butter, and then moving all that liquid to temper it and make sure to plate it and then temper it. And again, each step has a lot of skill behind it. I think, it's like, oh, this sounds like manual labor. Actually figuring out the roasting time, that's not manual labor. That's really about art and connecting the kind of bar you have in your mind with the beans you have and with the roasting. And similarly, it's very complicated to plate it. Yes, you can get good at it, but initially we're not that good. And so it was, I did each step. And it was, and I've done it, for the different bars, and it's really fantastic. And then also to think about the packaging. I'm not a particularly artistic person, but as you and I know, we spent a lot of time. What's the right packaging? Getting from Madagascar, we had the lemur on front. From Ecuador, we had the toucan on front. And just getting that feel for the right packaging, not too fancy, but evocative of the origin and the kind of bar we were trying to create. What I love about working with you, Shawn, is that every time I learn something and I grow. And the other thing I should say is Shawn is a real saint, because the last time I went there to make a bar, he took me to a store and he said, all right, get your running clothes. And I was like, wait, you didn't tell me to bring running clothes. All right, let's go to a store, get running clothes, because you're racing for a charity event tomorrow night, because there's a hospice end-of-life care house that you're very devoted to. That it's something I'm very devoted to, and you wanted me to, run in the race. And so every part of our experience together is about growth and giving back as much as we can. And I really appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate it too. Hey, Lauren, let's try this chocolate bar. Zeke, do you have yours? And
I don't have mine. I left it downstairs as I was rushing up.
Well, we have time for you to go downstairs.
Right,
Lauren and I, we've got time. This is good.
Please.
Lauren, why don't you talk a little bit about this and the packaging while we go downstairs?
So you'll notice, in the story we talked about, Zeke's visited our factory. He's made a bar with beans from Madagascar, and he's made a bar with beans from Ecuador. This is that bar with beans from Ecuador from a 70-year-old cocoa farmer partner named Leonore, who we'll come back to, who was able to visit our factory last year. But this is the reissue of that chocolate bar that we brought back by popular demand, really. So this is the second edition of the Ecuador Zeke bar that was a Good Food Award finalist for 2020, and it just flew off the shelves, and we wanted to bring it back. So this is the reissue that we're really excited about. And we can't wait to talk more about these beans and about Leonore, who's on the screen there, this septuagenarian cocoa farmer who is really a force.
Yes.
And the bar itself is excellent. So yeah, let's all taste it.
The first thing I noticed, and I haven't, very, very dark, very, very dark.
Yeah, thank you.
Our Madagascar bar, for those of you who remember, which was much redder as a bar than this one.
And it's important to point out the appearance of the bar. I mean, you're really, when you taste chocolate or anything, you're going to use all of your senses. So noticing the color is a good thing to do.
Exactly. Okay, so Zeke, do you want to take us through tasting this bar?
Yeah, so you open it up and get your piece, and then snap it. Listen to the snap. It should be a very crisp snap.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Very, very nice.
Okay.
Not mushy, not stale. Then you smell it. Yeah, Shawn's doing it. Try to get a sense of the flavors.
What are you getting on that?
I've got a little floral to it.
For me, there's espresso. There's some coffee in this bar.
Yeah, there may be. Yeah, I'm not a big coffee person, as you know.
Yeah,
having never had a cup in my life. All right. So then I put it in and I let it melt on my mouth and try to get the initial flavors, the secondary flavor, the intensity.
There's some people that suggest pushing it to the roof of your mouth when you're tasting. This is one of my favorite bars right now.
I don't know what it is, Shawn, but passing through my head is sort of dried apricot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of sweetness to it. There's some butterscotch.
I definitely taste that butterscotch on the end, which is what the first version of this bar tasted like, I think.
This is a dark bar. Remember, this is a 76% dark chocolate. So
that's right.
It's a chocolate forward bar, but then there's all of these undertones.
I would say the other thing that I look for, and Shawn and I worked a lot to make happen, is a long aftertaste. As I told Shawn early on when we were making bars, one of the things I like to do is to have a chocolate tasting and comparison at the end of meals. We don't have meals now during COVID, but and give people 3 different chocolates and find out which ones they like. But I also like them to have the feeling that when they leave the house, they're still having that chocolate taste in their mouth and that it's still around. And I like the long aftertaste here.
Yeah,
that's a good point. And I think Lauren mentioned this, but I think it's worth noting again. The previous version of this bar was a Good Food Award finalist. Do you know for those of you who don't know how competitive that is, I think there's like 2,000 entries, or I don't know, it's some crazy number of, isn't it, Lauren? I mean, it's very, very competitive.
Yes,
and,
it grows each year, which is amazing.
Yeah, and this bar, which we're just releasing today, everybody, you can buy this now on our website, but this bar is, well, first of all, it's a limited edition. There's not that much of it, and we'll talk more about why it's very limited. But the thing of it is, we're entering this bar in more competitions, right? So we're getting ready to enter this bar in a really important global competition in the next couple of weeks. In fact, we're shipping it out, I think, like now over to Europe for the International Chocolate Awards. But I love this bar. I mean, it's like Lauren said, you would think with a 76% really high cocoa content that it might be too much, that it might be overpowering, and it really isn't.
No, I think for most people, if you gave them the bar, ask them to taste it without telling them how much cacao was in it, they would not guess 76%. It is not too much in your face, too astringent at all. I think quite smooth in that regard.
It is, and you're right. That finish, it's got this really nice lingering finish. It's a balanced bar. I want to have some tonight with a great glass of wine or scotch.
Yeah, or maybe 2 glasses. But you can't do that. You can't do that though. I mean, Lauren can't do that. Yeah. You can do it if you want, but one thing I want to talk about, because I think it's important, is this farmer that Lauren was saying, Leonore, and she's a farmer in the Amazon. I go there every year. I couldn't go there this year. I talk to her probably at least every 3 weeks on WhatsApp. And Leonore is just an amazing person. And there she is. And we're with those Criollo beans. These are very, very rare Criollo beans. And so far, Zeke is the guy who makes chocolate with our Criollo beans. And he's our guest chocolate maker so probably Zeke's children will become the guest chocolate makers, and his grandchildren and my grandchildren will host them to make Criollo chocolate. But and there, Leonore, she came to visit the factory last year. It's the first farmer that's come anywhere around the world to visit us. And her son is there to the left, and he works in Chicago. I won't go here yet. We'll talk about this in just a second. But so Zeke and I hope to be able sometime to go to the Amazon together. I don't know when that will be, when we'll be able to go safely. But he and I have been talking about it, and it might be 18 months or 24 months until we can go to the Amazon. I don't know, but I know that it's on his list, and Zeke is an avid traveler and loves to travel. And we've obviously all been hampered by the pandemic. And so we can hope that we can travel in the future. For me, this year I would have been taking my 46th origin trip. And the first time for me never to visit farmers in 15 years. So it's a big deal. And so Lauren, did you have any other questions before we get to the limited nature of this bar, the truly limited nature?
No, other than just underscoring Leonore, I want to remind people that women are often the unsung heroes of the cocoa industry and are really the backbone of the chocolate bars you're enjoying. And we're honored to partner with her, to work with her, to feature her on the packaging, and help share her story along with some of our other women farmer partners. So we're looking forward to hopefully doing even more with Leonore. So I would say to stay tuned on that.
Indeed. And so Zeke, I was telling you a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this bar, and hey, by the way, everybody, you might be thinking, were those pictures of Zeke? Did he come to no, he couldn't come to the factory on this bar, but we used his exact recipe, changed it 0 to make this addition. The only difference is this other crop of beans. And so what'll be interesting to hear from Zeke and his friends over the coming weeks is what differences they might note, between the Zeke bar from Amazon last time and this time. And it'll be really cool because that's something in the chocolate factory that we really love about single origin chocolate, is being able to, not every single crop is going to taste exactly the same every year. That's why monoculture is bad, why we need biodiversity and why it's really important to us at the chocolate factory. But I've been talking to Zeke, I don't know, every couple of weeks or so, just recently about this bar. And I shared with him, we had some misfortune, 2 weeks ago, I got a call from the fire department. Maybe this is 3 weeks ago now, but I got a call from the fire department. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And they said, Shawn, your dumpster's on fire behind the chocolate factory. So people use dumpster fire as a metaphor. It is not a metaphor. Right. There's our dumpster. It was on fire. And it's just been one of those years at the chocolate factory. And then maybe 10 days ago, I called Zeke about this. Now, folks, you're thinking, what is this a picture of? Tank number 5. This was the entire batch of Zeke bars. And someone accidentally left the ball valve open, and we lost 113 kilos 113 kilos of chocolate. We lost almost half of the batch of chocolate. So when we talk about this being limited edition, we really mean limited edition. We've got, how many do we have of these, Lauren?
We have less than 1,500 chocolate bars.
Sounds like I feel like I'm on QVC, you know, which don't ask me to be on QVC, but it's like, yeah, we need a countdown ticker of how many bars, how many bars are sold. But you know what? And I told Zeke and I, you know, I hated to break that news to him because this is important. We had no other beans to make this up. And someone said, well, it was just on the floor. Why couldn't you put it back in? Really? We're regular. You think the FDA is going to be cool with me putting chocolate up on the floor? I mean, it's clean. I would eat it off the floor, but we had to put it in the dumpster, that very same dumpster that was on fire. And, but you know what, when this happened, somebody called me from the factory and they said, Shawn, we've got some really bad news. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, what could this be? And said, you know, we left the ball valve open and it ended up on the floor. We lost about half the batch. And you know what? My first reaction, literally, and I'm not known for this kind of first reaction. My first reaction was, whew. So nobody got hurt. Nobody's in the hospital. Nobody died. You know, it's just chocolate. I was so thankful. You know, that's the kind of year that we're having, is the kind of year where we can, you know, everything is so topsy-turvy and upside down that we can be grateful for the fact that we lost $18,600 worth of chocolate and it wasn't worse. So, you know, I'm sure Zeke is one of these kind of people that would say, hey, you know what? This has been a terrible year, but we can find places of gratitude. Mm-hmm. I'm sure, Zeke, you have gratitude that you could express over this year. Anything that you want to say about that would be really, I'm sure, inspiring and helpful to our viewers. You're muted. Can you hear him, Lauren?
I cannot. I think we've lost your audio.
Nope. Why don't you, what should we do, Lauren? Do you want to, oh, I see. Okay. Try it now. Yeah. It says that your microphone's not connected. He also looks, oh, there we go.
I heard him a moment ago.
No?
I think we can hear him. I think maybe he's just frozen a little bit. Zeke,
all right.
There we go.
Yes. Perfect.
Okay. Sorry about that technology.
No. Yes, no problem.
Yeah, it has been a topsy-turvy year. It's been a COVID year. It's been a very intense political year. Filled with lots of uncertainty. And we've been, you know, thrust to stop doing many of the normal things, going to work. As you mentioned, Shawn, you can't go to origin countries. It's hard. I think we also, sometimes those kind of deprivations make us appreciate things more. And I will tell you that two of the things that it's made me appreciate is friends and community. Being deprived of having friends over, able to have those dinner parties, you know, what it really is signaled to me how much other people mean, being able to get together with other people, break bread with them, talk with them, and person to person, face to face, very, very important. And being deprived of that makes me appreciate that even more. And I think for a lot of people, that's, you know, really important. We see people, the moment restaurants open or bars open, people rushing out, because I think we are a social being and we want to be social and we want to be with other people and interact. And so it's made me appreciate how important that is to my life. And I think that's critical. I had another grandchild, which is also wonderful. And unfortunately, I have not been able to hold her. But again, making me appreciate the circle of life and creation is also something, you know, you can pause and then, just appreciate the miracles of things like this, that we can actually be virtual and be together. I can continue to teach my classes, that it's possible to carry on many, many things because we have these great inventions, and science has continued to go and give us new opportunities and new ways of doing these things. So it is a topsy-turvy year, but I think it does force us to step back for a minute and remember what we appreciate about life.
Indeed, indeed. Well, I think we might have another special guest for you to meet, Zeke, right before we close this out. Lawren?
Oh, your baby. So gorgeous. So gorgeous. You ready for the chocolate?
Speaking of things to be grateful for, the Zeke bar is going to be her first chocolate bar that she's going to taste.
She's a little older than my granddaughter, so.
Yeah. This is Goldie Bell. This is Marigold, and she's 14 weeks.
Yeah.
And she's excited. She's excited to meet her factory friend Zeke. Yeah.
That's right.
Eventually, maybe she'll taste this bar from the library.
Yeah, right. Oh man. Hey Zeke, thank you so much for joining us. We're so grateful for your friendship and your advocacy of our factory, and especially Chocolate University and those programs to help kids. And thank you for what you do, and thank you for your service to our country. And I'm sure I'll be talking to you in the next couple of days. So thanks for everything.
Fantastic. And
okay.
Thanks for working with me, Shawn, and giving me the opportunity to be a chocolate maker, and educating me and allowing me to grow in so many new ways. And I hope people out there really do enjoy this bar. It's it's a labor of love, and it's a really special bar. So try it out.
Okay. Thank you, Zeke. Talk to you later. Okay.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Lawren?
Yes.
So that was awesome. We're still live. And thank you for bringing out Goldie. That was awesome.
Absolutely.
Perfectly on cue.
Absolutely.
We're going to, and let me just tell folks who are watching, you might think, well, wait, I didn't get enough Goldie. We're going to have more later. Lawren and I'll have we'll go back to our normal coffee and donuts, chocolate and donuts, Facebook Live events in the next couple of weeks. And hopefully we can talk more about kind of Goldie and what it's like, and your reintroduction back to Askinosie Chocolate, and maybe I'll be in Austin for that. We shall see. But
someone's asking for more Goldie. Unfortunately, Goldie had some major spit up, as if you're.
I think that was my brother. My brother was asking. I sent him a picture.
He exited stage left with my.
I sent Jason that picture last night of the one you sent me, where she looked like a little doll. She looked like truly like a little doll, and so that's probably why he wants more.
It's been exciting to to jump back into things and to jump back in with this bar. It really is one of my favorite bars right now, and again, it's even more limited than it was. So. I hope that people can get a chance to try it. It's, primarily available on our website, askinosie.com, also factory storefront, and then in very, very limited supply at some select Askinosie retailers across the country.
Yes. Well, again, we remember Leonore and her efforts, to make these beans. I mean, these are the nibs, these are cocoa beans. I mean, that have been roasted, and this is the effort of Leonore, really by herself as a farmer. And it's important for us to remember, as Zeke said, where our food comes from, and particularly where this bar comes from. Okay. So, like Zeke said, I'm grateful that we have this technology that we can be together, and that I can see you and I can see Goldie, and we can taste this chocolate bar together. And it's really meaningful and joyful for me. And So thanks for putting this together, and thank you to Kaylin for putting everything together for this, and thank you, Brad, for your artistic efforts in making this bar possible with Zeke, and Kevin for roasting the beans with Zeke, and thank you, everyone. So with that, I think we'll close it out. Lauren, unless you have any final thoughts.
Please, everybody, just if you get a chance to taste it, let us know what you think on social media, on Instagram. Let us know what you're pairing it with, what recipes you're making with it. We love seeing that kind of content and sharing that. And please stay tuned to Ask an OC. We have some exciting things coming up in the next couple of weeks. So make sure you're signed up for our newsletters. You can do that at askanoc.com. And as my dad said, we'll be doing this again soon. So we will see you soon.
The peppermint bark is going fast, so get it while you can. And for folks who didn't get to see all of this, well, the video will reside on Facebook. We'll leave it there. And it's also on my personal YouTube channel, which I think has 3 subscribers, but I'm not hard to find. Just search Shawn Ask an OC on YouTube, and you'll be able to find it there. So we were running it live on YouTube as well, and it'll be there for you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for being part of Ask an OC Chocolate. We're so grateful for your support, especially during these times. And it means a lot to us, and it means a lot to everybody in our factory and to everyone at Chocolate University. So thank you, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.